Oscar season has come and gone quite a long time ago. A time of red carpets, golden statues, and an unfair disregard for animation as a viable medium for Best Picture, you hacks! With it being half a year since 2021, this month I am personally taking the time to look back and reminisce on what this year gave us. Despite all the ups and downs of the world, we were given a solid amount of movies as theaters reopened. So, in the belated spirit of the season, it's high time I look back myself on some notable films from 2021 as I give out my own personal rewards. Introducing what I'm calling the Golden Sentinel, a prestigious, intangible award meant to self-validate my own subjective thoughts. Taking note of every movie that I've seen this past year, I'm awarding a Golden Sentinel to movies of the following categories. Best Cinematography, the movie with the best camera work and composition. Best Soundtrack, the movie with the most captivating musical backing to add depth to its scenes. With a twist, I am not counting musicals, cause we know they'd win. It's all about score, implementation, and the occasional vocal theme, the atmosphere it all provides. Best Visual Style, art, color, production design, character designs, it's more than just camera work, what has the most flair? Best Writing, who's got the top-notch script and characters that can latch you onto their story? Best Surprise, a movie that I had zero to low expectations for that absolutely took me by surprise with a pretty good and unexpected experience. Worst Disappointment. You may not be the worst, but you let me down compared to what I believe you can do. Worst Movie.
You're trash, Brock.
And Best Movie, my absolute favorite of them all, a combination of story, style, music, and writing to create a stellar, unforgettable time at the theater. And of course, let's not forget, these are my opinions. I am not a high-end film critic or a member of the Academy. I'm just a guy who goes to the theaters way too often, looking to be inspired by the new and the familiar.
I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe.
So, which one of these movies will bring home the gold? Here are the candidates. I haven't seen every movie, but it's a decent chunk. So, without further ado, let the 2021 Failinhearts Movie Awards commence. West Side Story, the new adaptation of the beloved play telling the story of Romeo and Juliet under the backdrop of 1950s New York. This is director Steven Spielberg's first time directing a musical, and boy howdy did he knock it out of the park. When doing a musical, a lot of care goes into the cinematography to ensure that the visual style of the film remains consistent and uncompromised, but also to still provide dynamic, engaging, and maneuverable camera work and composition. Spielberg took it one step beyond to make the movie feel cinematic, but still akin to the Broadway musical style. In the way buildings are spaced, set pieces are laid out, and the simple practical nature of the scenarios themselves, there's something very, theatrical about it all. The end result is some awe-inspiring dance numbers, dazzlingly lit night skies, and an adaptation worthy of the West Side Story legacy. Surely, this is one rumble you'll love to see. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yes, I'm talking about the Snyder Cut again because, damn, I'm surprised how much I love this movie. One of the reasons is the fantastic soundtrack given to his 4-hour epic. Composed by Junkie XL in the comfort of his own dang home, he went up and blew Danny Elfman's phoned-in 2017 score out of the water. As nice as the Elfman Batman and John Williams Superman themes are, they hardly relate to Snyder's vision of these characters. Junkie provided a more accurate, bombastic, and truly epic score that brings the mythic and godlike presence of scale of these larger-than-life superheroes to the forefront. From the crew at war power to the speed of force, Justice League's score stands as one of the great modern superhero soundtracks you can hear. All capped off with beautiful vocal songs like Song to the Siren and a new cover of Hallelujah, a beautiful tribute to the late Autumn Snyder, the Snyder Cut. A soundtrack so powerful, it could give the forces of apocalypse a run for its money. Mitchells vs. the Machines. One of Sony Pictures Animation's whopping 4 movies this year, this one proved itself to be easily the best of the lot. Not that the others were bad, mind you, but this was on a whole nother level. Taking cues from the lessons learned from one of their last projects, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Mitchells wasn't just a hilarious movie, but a gorgeous one, incorporating quirky designs and a mixture of both CG, 2D, and even live action to create both subtle and unsubtle masterpieces of art. It's hard not to be captivated by the colors on display here. No visual idea is too out there for this movie. From sock puppet shows to an 80s styled Furby shooting lasers across a shopping mall, we are seeing the movie almost through the eyes of Katie Mitchell, a film student with an eccentric and passionate view of the world. And ain't that all, filmmakers? In a way, seeing the movie the way Katie does allow us to see through the eyes of any director, designer, or creative soul, which makes your attachment to the characters and the narrative all the more satisfying. Guess you can say the style makes you all the more connected? Get it? That was the original name of the movie, before it went to Netflix. Get it? Alright, moving on. Nightmare Alley. A stunning adaptation of the 1946 novel of the same name, director Guillermo del Toro and co-writer Ken Morgan delivered a haunting, compelling, and cathartic parable about lies and the snowball that is created the more you let that lie grow. Conman Stan Carlisle is brought into the life of a circus carny, learning the tricks of the trade that come with deceiving a crowd and fools the world to believing that he can communicate with the dead. Reaping ever-growing opportunities to profit off of grieving individuals, Stan finds himself working with a shady psychiatrist to look into the history of his clients and further amplify just how real his lies seem. But of course, nothing lasts forever. This film adores the rule of the economy of storytelling, which adds to the cathartic and satisfying nature of seeing this man's rise and fall. What is the economy of storytelling? Well, it's the nature of having something properly set up and paid off later on. No loose ends here. Everything you know, everything you hear comes full circle. Stan is warned and shown many things about how seedy this life is. He is warned about the consequences of his actions, and what could be profitable for you could become a cursed stain in your life not long after. He may not heed to these words, but we, the audience, do. And we just sit and wait to see how Stan's ignorance will lead to his failure. It's utterly fascinating and keeps you hooked from beginning to end. So hurry, 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 step right up for the best thriller of the year. Sword Art Online Progressive, Aria of a Starless Night. Now let me go out by saying that I hate Sword Art Online. Sorry, I know there's fans, but I think this franchise is wasted potential incarnate. An anime about people whose consciousness are forever trapped in an MMO where if you die in the game, you die for real. So you gotta fight to survive. It's a genius premise. There's no way you could screw it up. I freaking love Tron. This is like Anime-tron, injected into my veins, baby. But instead, what I got was a cringeworthy romance of one of the worst protagonists I've ever seen. So going into this movie, which is just a cinematic retelling of the anime's first arc, go figured I wasn't exactly having the highest of hopes. But then, I actually kinda liked it. I'm not kidding. Something about this I honestly really found myself enjoying. Why is that? Well, it keeps the focus on the idea of surviving and getting stronger in a harsh world where the slightest mistakes in the game become a matter of life and death. But most importantly, there's actual likable characters in this. Yeah, Asuna, our main protagonist who was the love interest in the anime, has now devolved into a character as interesting as stale bread, but it's a sacrifice of bettering everyone else. Most importantly, it gives us an actual, likable Kirito. He's a bit of a dork, but in the end still kind-hearted. His try-hard, edgy, loner persona is now made more clear that it is a front to protect others because we clearly see this kinder side of him. This changes everything, man. And I find myself actually getting excited to see where things go in this movie series of retellings going forward. No more cringeworthy dialogue, characters, or excessive over-sexualization. Just a likable cast in a high-stakes world. I'm very excited with this new trip to Aincrad, and honestly, I'm willing to log back in again. Eternals. Now, let me go off on a limb and say this isn't the worst movie ever like people claim. This isn't even the worst MCU movie that goes to Black Widow. In the end, it's alright. But that's the sad part. It's alright. When it could have been, and should have been, so much more. Because I can see the absolute passion Chloe Zhao had for this movie from scene one, telling this cosmic story about creation, existentialism, the needs of the many versus the needs of the few, questions on if human suffering is necessary, faith, religion. There is so much she wants to say, but the problem is this is a movie. A 2.5-hour long movie that has to cover all of these themes, introduce a whopping 10 characters into the MCU, and tell a story that spans 7,000 years of human history. This should have been a show, because as a movie, everything feels undercooked. It's like a steak you ordered medium rare, and it came out raw and straight from the fridge. Alright, it's not that broken, but you get what I mean. This movie is stunning, and you can feel the ambition and love that went into this. The visual design, cinematography, score, morals, the fact that I got Kevin Feige to actually go outside and touch grass because it was filmed on practical locations. There's a lot I can love about this, but just as much that I can equally be troubled by. Sorry, Eternals, but just like your god, Ereshkigal, I had to subject you to harsh judgment. The Matrix Resurrections. Like most people on this earth, I like The Matrix, the first one. And like most people on this earth, I really don't like the sequels, at all. While it was a novelty enough with the first movie, the action and spectacle going forward failed to save what became utterly boring and stale movies. The dialogue is monotone, the messages are pretentious, the characters are devoid of any charm and quirks. I can't bring myself to care about anybody in this snorefest of a franchise. And take a wild guess where this long-awaited fourth installment lies. Despite an opening luring you in with characters that might actually have a personality for once, things continue to devolve into the same old tired crap, and I am just downright sick of it. I'll give a garbage fire like Black Widow this. I like Natasha, and I like Yelena. I like nobody here. And the worst thing is the movie knows it's being a hashed out, boring as sin, cynically made legacy sequel. I love meta storytelling, but this was Danganronpa V3 levels of being self-aware in all the wrong ways. Knowing the bad decisions you made, acknowledging the bad decisions you made, and thinking that because you said it, you're perfectly exempt from the consequences of doing those same bad decisions again. That's not being clever. That's slapping your audience in the face, saying you're sorry, and then slapping you again. There's a good way to mock reboot culture. Heck, the new Scream movie basically did what Matrix wanted to be. This isn't it. And the action and the spectacle? We've seen so much of this kind of action since The Matrix last hit the big screen, so anything it does is no longer special. The Matrix should stay as it was, a relic of Hollywood history, because this is one resurrection I want to bury 6 feet under again. Now, this is a movie I reviewed before. I liked it quite a bit, and I didn't love it initially. But as time went on, and I rewatched it quite a few times. And since then, well, you can see how my opinion changed. The winner of Best Movie is... That's right, The Suicide Squad. Now, not saying that there's some things that still can't be fixed. I still would love a movie where all the characters get picked off one by one instead of a mass killing spree that takes off a chunk of the cast while the rest are safe for the majority of the film. But the more I see this movie, the more I try to understand what James Gunn is trying to say. And dang it, I'm such a sucker for these kind of movies. Just like Guardians of the Galaxy, a tale of redemption and goodness through the development of troubled, morally skewed individuals. It's a weakness of mine, I'm sorry guys. The movie's over-excessive use of foul language and violence now begins to have purpose, because it's meant to highlight the absolute worst of humanity. Not only does Suicide Squad partake in reprehensible acts, but the people of Corto Maltese, Starro, Amanda Waller, everyone is capable of doing downright evil things. This movie tackles and highlights hypocrisy at its core, as these criminals are sent to die by who could be seen as the most cold-hearted of them all. And she works for the government. Because in the end, we are still living, breathing human beings with the capability of doing something good with ourselves, to improve, to redeem ourselves, to live. These foul moments exist to contrast and help highlight the tender scenes, the kind-hearted actions, the best of humanity, the best we can be, despite anything we might have done to others, which is all brought full circle further with the Peacemaker show, a great asset to this movie. And it's not just the script. This movie oozes with style from all the categories. Great cinematography for the action scenes, a style that is very clearly James Gunn, a hardcore rock soundtrack accompanied with great licensed music, and an overall surprising sequel to a horrible first movie. The Suicide Squad checks each and every one of these boxes, making it, in my opinion, the best movie of the year. And that is that. Thank you all for coming to this little ceremony of mine, and hope these winners either changed or helped reinforce your views on these movies. Maybe you'll give them a rewatch, or perhaps see things for the first time, see things from another perspective, or maybe you'll just love them more. Maybe you have different movies you think deserve this category. Go on ahead and let me know in the comments below, and leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. 2021 was an awesome year for movies, and let's see if this year can carry that same torch.